Okay, number 1, we have to graph k of x, draw a picture, and then label some important points. So if we want to graph this function, on our calculator we have to go to the y equals button. I'm going to type in 1/2. I'm going to put it in parentheses so that it glues those two values together. If I want to get the absolute value function, I'm going to hit math, third one down from the left, go over 1 to the right, and it's the first option. So ABS stands for absolute value. And then I'm going to enter in x minus 10. And I'm going to close that absolute value so that I can subtract 15. If I want to get that picture, I'm going to go ahead and start with the standard window. So I'm going to hit zoom 6. If I hit zoom 6, notice that my picture does not look like a V. I cannot see the whole absolute value function yet. It started to draw a little bit on the left. It went way too far down and way too far to the right. So I need to adjust my window. If I need to adjust my window so that it goes to the right more, that's my x's, our left and right. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll double my x maximums. And if I need to go down further, up and down is my y's, and I need to go down, so I'm going to make that minimum a little bit smaller. So I'm going to double it and say -20. So I'm going to hit graph again. And I can now start to see that V shape. Okay, but notice that I need to label the x-intercepts, the y-intercepts, and the maximum or the minimum. So I can see the y-intercept and I can see the minimum, but I have yet to figure out what the x-intercepts are. So I'm going to adjust my window a little bit more. My minimum, I'll go ahead and double that. And my maximum doesn't look quite close to being able to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and double that again. There we go. So we've got an x-intercept to the left and to the right. Okay? They are pretty far out there, but I think we should be able to find them from this picture. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch that picture. To the best of my ability. Let's see, it was crossing over here and over here. All right, so we've got a general sketch, and now let's find the x-intercepts, the y-intercept, and the maximum or minimum. I'm going to go ahead and start by finding this y-intercept. So I'm going to go ahead and go to second trace, and I know that all of my y-intercepts have an x value of 0. So if I hit enter on that first option and type in a 0, it is going to give me an x-intercept of 0, -10. Next thing I'll find is the minimum. It is the bottom of a valley, not the top of a hill, so I have a minimum, not a maximum. So I'm going to go back to my second trace screen, go down to minimum. My calculator is asking me to go to the left, so I'm going to move my cursor first to the minimum. I'm going to go a little bit to the left, hit enter. I'm going to pass that minimum again and go a little bit to the right, hit enter. I don't want to guess, so I'll hit enter again. And if I round that, I am at 10, -15. So 10, -15. Now I need to find my x-intercepts. On our calculator, we have to find one at a time, so I'll find that one on the left. So second trace. An x-intercept is also called a 0 because it is when your y value is equal to 0. So my calculator wants me to go to the left of my x-intercept, so I'm going to move my cursor all the way to where that x-intercept is, and then I'm going to go a few to the left, hit enter. I'm going to go a few to the right. Whoop. It's moving all over the place. I'm going to go a few to the right, hit enter. I don't want to guess, so I'll hit enter one more time, and I have a 0 of -20, 0. And now we can go ahead and find this x-intercept over here. It moved my window for whatever reason, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust that again just so I can see it on my graph. And I'm going to go back to my second trace, and I want to find the x-intercept, or in other words, the 0. So I'm gonna hit my cursor over here to where that x-intercept is. It's about right there. So now I'm going to hit my left arrow key a few times, go to the left, and now I'm going to hit my right arrow key until I'm on the other side of the x-intercept. Hit enter, and one more time, and I have another x-intercept at 40. 0. So we've got x-intercept, y-intercept, and maximum or minimum. Okay, so now we can go on to number 2. We have a student who waits on tables at a restaurant, and he or she recorded the cost of meals and the tip left by single diners. So we need to enter this data into our calculator so we can run a linear regression, come up with our equation, and then we're going to figure out if the next diner orders a meal costing $10.50, how much my waiter will make. So in my calculator, I need to go to my stat button and hit enter on edit. And we're going to go ahead and enter in the meal cost because those are my X values because the tip depends on how much the meal cost. So meals are going to be my X values, tips are going to be my Y values. So $4.75, $6.84, $12.52, $20.42, and $8.97. And then in my list 2, I'm going to enter in my Y values. So in this case, the tip. Now if I want to go ahead and I want to run a regression, I'm going to hit my stat key again, go over to the right, and we want to run a linear regression in the form y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to go up to option number 4, hit enter a few times until you get this screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and write the equation. So my a value that I'm going to plug in, if I round to 3 decimal places, is, well, let's round to 2 decimal places because we're talking about money. So 0.16. So y equals 0.16x. And my b is negative 0.30. So now if I go ahead and answer the next part, it says if the next diner orders a meal costing $10.50, how much tip should the waiter expect to receive? So if I look at my data that I entered in, we said our meal cost was the X and our outcome was the Y because the tip depends on how much money you spend. So we're going to take this cost of $10.50 and put it in for my X value. So I'm going to have 0.16 times 10.50 minus 0.30. And it looks like the tip is estimated to be $1.38.